All right, everyone get ready, because today we are going deep into the CCSP exam.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, one of the toughest out there, so
Definitely.
we really got to make sure that anyone listening is ready to go for it.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot of really interesting stuff to go through today.
Yeah.
Everything from basic information classification all the way to information rights management, e-discovery, the whole 9 yards.
It's a lot.
Maybe we should call this one CCSP, more than you bargained for.
Right.
But don't worry, we're going to break it all down.
Absolutely. Step by step.
One thing that really stood out to me in the source material
Okay.
is that they keep coming back to this idea of information classification.
Yeah.
They say it's like the foundation. It's like you're building a house. You don't just start putting up drywall
Right. Got to have a plan.
without having a blueprint. Right.
Exactly. I mean, you can't build proper controls
Right.
if you don't even know what you're protecting.
Yeah. So how do we even go from this like jumbled mess of data that we all have
Right.
into this nicely
How to work.
organized system?
Well, first you got to know what data you actually have,
Okay.
where it is, and who has access to it.
That makes sense.
And that's where data mapping comes in.
Okay.
You basically take inventory of your data, but from a security perspective.
Okay, so let's say we've got this map, this inventory.
Okay.
What are we actually looking at to classify it?
Well, you've got to have classification policies, right?
Okay.
That's where you define the different levels of sensitivity
Right.
and the criticality for your organization.
I'm guessing that's going to look different for different organizations, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not one size fits all.
Okay.
Like the military might have top secret,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But for businesses, it's going to be highly sensitive, internal use, only
Public.
public, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's not just about how sensitive something is.
Why?
The criticality also plays a big role.
How do you mean?
Okay, so criticality means how much would it hurt the business
Okay.
if this data was lost or leaked or something.
Oh, okay.
So you could have something super sensitive, but if it's not critical to operations, it might not need the highest level of protection.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, you could have something that's not that sensitive,
Right.
but losing it would be devastating.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Like, think of financial projections for a company.
Okay.
Very sensitive, but maybe not make or break for day-to-day work.
Yeah, I got it.
But their customer database.
Uh-huh.
Not as sensitive, but losing it could be the end of the business.
Right. That's a great point.
So both sensitivity and criticality matter.
Okay, so they both go into deciding how we label this data.
Exactly.
And then from there, we can start figuring out, okay,
Uh-huh.
how are we actually going to keep this safe?
Right. And that's where all the security controls come in.
Which takes us nicely into the next thing.
Yeah.
Keeping this data safe in all the different stages. Storage, transmission.
Disposal, yeah. And our sources got really into the weeds on policies here.
Yeah.
It's not just theory, it's about how you put it into practice.
That's what I like about it, yeah.
And each of those stages, they all have their own little gotchas, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So with storage, you got to think about if it's on the cloud or if it's on premises.
Right.
Then for transmission, that's where someone snooping on the network becomes a problem.
Yeah, especially for sensitive data.
Exactly, especially if it's going over public networks.
Oh, big time.
And then disposal. People forget about that.
Yeah, they do.
But it's so important, you can't just press delete and think it's gone.
Yeah, right. Like it's magic.
Right. Got to think about those little bits of data that can still be there.
Yeah.
That's why you got to wipe it properly or even destroy the whole thing.
You know, speaking of wiping, I thought it was funny. The source mentioned DBAN.
Oh, Derek's boot and nuke?
Yeah, have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
I remember hearing about it years ago, even before I got into all this stuff.
It's pretty famous, even for people who aren't techie.
Yeah, it's like a well-known name.
It shows you how important it is to actually erase data properly.
Yeah, it's not just an IT thing, it's a business risk.
Exactly.
And this all goes back to classification, right?
Absolutely.
The more sensitive it is,
Uh-huh.
the more careful you got to be about getting rid of it.
You got it.
It all connects.
That's the whole point of the CCSP.
Yeah.
It's not about memorizing stuff. It's about understanding how it all fits together.
Right, yeah.
Making smart decisions in real situations.
Okay, so we talked about classifying the data and keeping it safe.
Yeah.
But what about protecting it from people who are supposed to have access?
Oh, good point. Like employees or contractors.
Yeah, partners?
Yeah. Sometimes the biggest threat isn't some hacker out there.
Right.
It's the people you trust.
Yeah, it's like that saying, right?
Yeah.
The insider threat is the one who already has the keys.
Exactly. And that's where information rights management comes in. Or IRM.
Okay, IRM. So what is that all about?
It's all about control.
Okay.
Even after the data's left your hands, so to speak,
Uh-huh.
protecting your intellectual property,
Copyrights, trademarks, patents,
Yeah.
trade secrets.
All that good stuff. And that's important for basically every company, right?
Yeah, I would think so, no matter what you do.
And one of the main tools we use for IRM is digital rights management, or DRM.
Wait, is that like when my music stops playing
Uh,
if I don't pay for my subscription?
that's it.
Oh,
Or those ebooks where you can only read them on a couple devices.
Yeah, that's DRM.
That's DRM. It's everywhere.
Huh.
It's all about controlling access to digital stuff.
Okay.
Music, movies, software, you name it.
Makes sense.
It's about protecting the creators
Right.
and making sure people don't just copy stuff willy-nilly.
I vaguely remember when Steve Jobs announced that iTunes was going DRM free.
Oh, yeah, that was big news.
It was a big deal.
Huge shift in the music industry.
Yeah.
Lots of debate about balancing rights and convenience for everyone.
So next time you're annoyed that your ebook won't open
Uh-huh.
or your streaming cuts out,
Yep.
that's DRM in action.
Trying to protect that intellectual property.
It's more than just being annoying.
Right. There are real reasons for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Legal stuff, too, and anyone in cybersecurity needs to get it.
So we've done classification, keeping data safe, managing access.
Yep.
But what happens when things go wrong? Like legal issues come up.
Oh, that's when e-discovery and preserving evidence becomes super important. Imagine a lawsuit hits.
Yeah.
And suddenly everyone's panicking.
Right.
Trying to figure out what data they even have, where it is.
Oh, yeah.
And how to keep it safe so they don't get in trouble with the law.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It can be, but that's why we got to know this stuff. E-discovery is where cybersecurity meets the courtroom, basically.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's about being able to answer those legal questions,
Yeah.
following the rules,
Uh-huh.
and protecting yourself when things hit the fan.
So what are the big things to know for the CCSP about e-discovery?
Well, there are three main parts: preservation, collection, and production.
Okay.
Preservation means making sure you don't lose any data that might be important,
Yep.
even if there's just a hint of a legal issue.
And I think that includes what they call a legal hold, right?
That's right. A legal hold is like a formal notice to everyone
Okay.
saying, don't touch anything.
Okay.
It means not deleting stuff, obviously, but also stopping any automatic processes that might erase data.
Oh, right, like log files that get deleted automatically.
Exactly. So the IT team needs to be ready to change things quickly.
On a dime.
Yeah, which means legal and IT need to be on the same page.
Right, and then collection is when you actually gather all that data.
That's it.
I bet that's a huge job for big companies.
It can be. You're talking about emails, files on servers, personal computers,
Oh, yeah.
even stuff in the cloud. It's complex.
And then production, what's that?
That's where the lawyers go through everything
Uh-huh.
and decide what to share with the other side.
Okay.
It's not just giving them everything.
Done.
There's a lot of careful checking and legal stuff involved.
So understanding e-discovery isn't just about tech skills. Right?
No, it's about cybersecurity, legal procedures, and managing risk all at once.
I think a lot.
That's what makes the CCSP so valuable.
Yeah.
It gives you the knowledge to handle these tricky situations.
And there are some serious consequences
Oh, yeah.
if you don't get e-discovery right.
Big time, fines, damage to your reputation. You don't want that.
Okay, so we covered a ton in this first part.
Yeah.
Starting with how to classify data all the way to e-discovery.
Uh-huh.
And it's clear that the CCSP exam is about more than just the technical stuff.
You got it.
You got to be able to think strategically, see the big picture,
Absolutely.
and apply these concepts to real-world situations.
That's what makes a true cybersecurity professional.
And that's what we're all about here.
We know.
Helping you guys get there.
One step at a time.
All right, so much more to come.
Oh, yeah.
Stick with us for the rest of this deep dive into the CCSP.
We'll be right back.
So we've been talking about all these different pieces.
Yeah.
Classifying data, how to handle it, controlling access.
Uh-huh.
It's starting to feel like this big puzzle.
It is, kind of.
Lots of different parts.
Yeah.
But what's the thing that ties it all together?
That's a great question, and it leads us right to data security policies.
Policies. Okay.
Yeah,
I got to be honest. They don't always have the best rep. You know,
I know what you mean.
people think they're boring, just bureaucracy.
Right, just paperwork.
But you're saying they're important for the CCSP.
Absolutely, they're crucial.
Okay, how so?
Think of them as the rule book for data security.
Okay.
They lay down the law, set the expectations for everyone in the organization,
So it's not just about checking boxes. They actually affect how security works.
Exactly. They take those big security ideas and make them into real actions.
Guidelines, procedures, standards.
All of that. And without them, it's just chaos.
Yeah, everyone doing their own thing.
Right. Inconsistencies, gaps in security, big mess.
So what kind of things do these policies usually cover?
Well, we already talked about data classification policies.
Right, figuring out what's sensitive and all that.
Exactly. That's the foundation.
Because if you don't know what you're dealing with,
Uh-huh.
you can't protect it properly, right?
Exactly. It's like trying to bake a cake without knowing what flour is.
Right, everything gets mixed up.
Disaster.
So besides classification.
You've got policies for data storage.
Okay.
Where can you store certain data? What access controls are needed?
Encryption, backups.
All that good stuff. And obviously those rules are stricter for sensitive data.
Makes sense, like anything labeled highly sensitive or critical.
You got it. And then there are policies for transmitting data. Okay, like sending it over the network?
Right, what networks are, okay, do you need a VPN?
Secure protocols.
Yep. Lots of focus on encryption to protect data while it's moving.
It's not just vulnerable when it's sitting on a server, right?
Exactly. It's at risk anytime it's traveling, especially on public networks.
It's funny how encryption is always coming up.
It's essential.
Like the key to everything.
It really is. And understanding how it all works is a big part of the CCSP.
Makes sense.
But going back to policies, we also have ones for the data lifecycle.
Ah, so how long you keep data and how you get rid of it.
Exactly. That's where those data retention and disposal policies come in.
Yeah, back to DBAN and all those secure wiping methods.
Exactly. You got to make sure data is really gone when it's supposed to be.
Following the rules and the law.
All of that, those policies give clear instructions on how to do it right.
So basically, data security policies set the ground rules for how a company handles its data.
From start to finish, throughout its whole life cycle.
And they're not just red tape.
They're crucial for building a secure and compliant environment.
They keep things consistent, reduce risk, and give everyone a clear path to follow.
Okay, so we've tackled classification, how to handle data, the importance of policies.
Mm-hmm.
What else is on the CCSP's hit list? What other big things should we be thinking about?
Well, we've talked about protecting data from outside threats.
Right, and even from people inside the company.
Exactly, but what happens when things go wrong anyway?
Uh-oh, you're talking breaches, lawsuits, investigations.
This stuff nightmares are made of.
Sounds scary.
It can be, but it's part of the CCSP.
Okay.
Cybersecurity isn't just about preventing bad things.
So what do you do when something bad does happen?
Exactly. How do you minimize the damage, keep evidence safe?
Follow the rules, all that.
Exactly. So first, what exactly is a security incident?
Yeah, good point. It's a pretty broad term.
It is. For us, let's say it's anything that puts your data at risk.
Okay.
Compromises its confidentiality, integrity, availability.
Yeah.
Could be malware, phishing, a lost laptop, even a full-blown data breach.
So basically, anytime your security fails and there's a negative impact.
You got it. And that's where incident response planning comes in.
Okay, what's that?
It's like a fire drill for cybersecurity.
I like that.
You plan for the worst, so you're ready if it happens.
Makes sense, so you're not caught off guard.
Exactly. And just like a fire drill, the key is preparation, practice.
Documentation, all that.
You got it. Knowing who does what steps to take, how to communicate.
So what are the most important parts of a good incident response plan?
First, you need to define what a security incident even is for your organization.
Okay, like what sets off the alarms?
Exactly. How bad does it have to be, and how do you respond to different levels of severity?
Makes sense. Got to know when to panic and how much.
Right. Then you need clear roles and responsibilities.
Who's in charge?
Yeah. Who's on the team, who makes decisions.
You don't want confusion in a crisis.
Exactly. You also need procedures for detecting, containing, and getting rid of threats.
What tools do you use? How do you isolate systems?
How do you fix things and get back to normal?
Sounds like a lot of technical stuff, but also strategy and teamwork.
Absolutely. It's both. And then there's communication.
Okay, who do you talk to?
Yeah, internal folks, external parties, law enforcement, maybe even the media.
What do you tell them and when?
Because messing up communication can really hurt you.
Damage your reputation, get you in legal trouble.
Exactly. And finally, documentation is key.
Ah, the paperwork.
You got to document everything, the timeline, what you did, the evidence, all the communication.
Sounds like a lot, but I get why it's important.
It is. It helps you figure out what happened, learn from it, prove you did the right thing.
And maybe even defend yourself in court.
Exactly. So a good incident response plan is about being ready for anything.
Having a plan, minimizing the damage.
Exactly. A key takeaway for the CCSP is that it's not just about building walls.
It's also about knowing what to do when someone breaks through.
Exactly. It's not if, but when a security incident will happen.
And the CCSP helps you be the calm leader in the storm.
That's the goal.
Okay, so we've done policies, incident response. That's a lot.
It is.
But there's still more to explore.
Oh, yeah, we're just getting started.
Stick with us as we go deeper into the CCSP.
Uncovering all those key concepts that'll help you not just pass the exam,
but really excel in cybersecurity.
That's what we're here for.
So we've talked about classifying information, putting those controls in place, and even planning for when things go sideways.
Right, incident response, all that.
But I feel like there's still something missing.
Oh, like what?
How do we know if all this is actually working?
You're talking about making sure our data isn't slipping through the cracks.
Yeah, exactly. How do we check?
Well, that's where data discovery comes in.
Data discovery.
Yeah,
Is that just like looking for lost files?
It's a bit more than that.
Okay.
It's about proactively searching for sensitive data
Okay.
that might be in the wrong place or not classified correctly.
So it's kind of like a double check on all that work we talked about.
Exactly, making sure those controls are actually doing their job.
Okay, so how do you do data discovery?
Well, it can be manual, especially for smaller companies or for very specific data.
Okay.
But for bigger organizations, you need tools, automated ones.
Tools that can scan for sensitive stuff.
Yeah, they look for patterns, keywords, metadata.
Like social security numbers or credit card info.
Exactly, or even those classification markings like top secret.
Right.
They can find stuff that might be mislabeled or stored in the wrong spot.
Okay, but what about all the unstructured stuff?
Oh, you mean emails, documents, all that.
Yeah, that seems tough to scan.
It is. That's the challenge with unstructured data.
Right.
So you often need a mix of tools and manual review, especially for really sensitive stuff.
So data discovery is kind of like being a detective, right?
I like that, yeah. Always searching for clues, making sure things are in order.
And it's not a one-time thing, is it?
Nope, it's ongoing.
Got to keep up with changes in the organization, new tech, all that.
Exactly. Always got to be adapting.
And this is all part of being proactive.
Absolutely. It's not enough to just react. Got to be ahead of the game.
Data discovery is part of that.
That's a key part.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive, from classification to e-discovery, and now data discovery.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, and it's clear that the CCSP exam is about more than just technical details.
Oh, yeah. You got to understand the big picture.
The strategy, how to apply it in the real world.
That's what separates the pros from the amateurs.
Exactly. It's about being that guardian of data.
Protecting it throughout its whole life cycle.
Understanding the risks, building a culture of security.
Where everyone plays a part.
And for anyone listening who's on their CCSP journey, keep learning, keep asking questions.
Don't just memorize, think critically.
Because knowledge is power in cybersecurity, and that's what will make you a true data guardian.
Exactly.
All right, that's all for our deep dive today.
Hope you all enjoyed it.
We'll see you next time.